I knew someone who promised she could tell how useful someone would be in a zombie situation within 30 minutes of meeting them. And supposedly, she had a list of people she classified as most useful in case of zombies, which, that's frankly insane. Imagine spending the first half hour deciding someone's usefulness in case of an outbreak of a non-existent creature, and this is the first thing you do upon meeting them. That's just so silly and dumb. Yeah, I asked her and she decided I wouldn't be very useful to her zombie survival plan. Dang, I'm not even in the zombie companion zone, which if you're wondering, I don't know where that is in relation to the friend zone. But this video is my attempt to prove her wrong. I'm going to show just how useful I would be, starting with the most important factor in a zombie situation, dog food. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I heard that dog food manufacturers had to make the dog food edible for humans because people kept eating it during the Great Depression. Well, I believed it because why would the internet lie to me? Apparently it did lie, and it lied to me because that's totally not true. The first can of dog kibble was made in 1956. If you're not noticing the problem, that was around 30 years after the Great Depression. So there goes that rumor. Man, the fight against the internet misinformation never ends. My internet illiteracy aside, that got my gears a-turning. Could people eat dog food? And would it be a reasonable option in the face of a zombie apocalypse? I do find it important to state that whenever I say dog food, I'm referring to kibble, though I'm sure most of this applies to the other kinds as well. I'm sorry, I've just seen wet dog food, and I don't think even zombies would make me that desperate. Anyways, back to the very important science. As for how edible dog food is, that's pretty easy. I found this quote from Healthline really puts it best. Though it is made from ingredients that are technically safe for humans to eat, thus it's not inherently toxic for humans. Technically safe is my favorite kind of safe. That is W, boys. I did find on some other sites that dog food might contain a toxic amount of vitamin A, so I checked that out. The Association of American Feed Control Officials, which I didn't know existed and is now my current favorite organization, recommends 5,000 IU of vitamin A per kilogram of dog food. Dry dog food generally contains 97 calories per ounce. Assuming 2,000 calories, that would equate to 0.58 kilos. That would translate to roughly 2,900 IU of vitamin A, which, don't get me wrong, isn't great, but it's not considered toxic. I wouldn't recommend that this be the only thing you eat, but that's true for most things. Except for potatoes, I guess. I tried to find the nutritional value of dry kibble to see if it had all of the necessary vitamins, but it actually varied quite a bit between brands, especially the more expensive and cheap ones, so I guess just make sure to get a nice variety of dog food in there. That's right, even in the apocalypse, make sure to treat yourself to some nice dog kibble. Some of the nicer kinds actually promised real fruits, meat, and vegetables being used in the recipe, though it is kind of hard to say if they're actually telling the truth. Now, on to the more important questions. Does it taste good? I can't say I personally know how it tastes. No clue, honestly. But this guy in Quora says that they all mostly taste the same, and the brand called Baldr Kendall 5s tastes the best. Upvote. Is it storable? A pretty decent boon in this case is that dog food generally has quite a bit of preservatives in it. Manufacturers recommend it being used within 18 months, and within a couple weeks of being opened. While this isn't practically forever like some canned food, it's quite a bit better than some other kinds of food, so it's not something to overlook. How much would you need, though? Well, I've actually kind of already calculated this, but on average you'll need 0.58 kilos per day per person, which is roughly 1.28 pounds if you're a Liberty-blooded American like I am, meaning a 30-pound bag of dog food could last you 23 days, and likely more if you rationed it properly. That's pretty good. Now, onto the most important question. You see, dog food might have done surprisingly good in those other categories, but not really any better than just normal human food would have done. The only reason I looked into it is for this question: can you get a lot of it easily? To get a reasonable idea for the average person, I went to the list of the largest cities in the US, as most people probably live in or around one of these. So I just picked a random one to base it off, which in this case was number 5, Arizona. Hello, yeah, it's editing Baldr here. I just realized I caught a mistake while editing. So initially I calculated a pet store on average 3 miles in Phoenix, Arizona, but in actuality it's more along the lines of 20 miles, which is quite a bit worse and definitely something to take into account. I still think it's not unreasonable, especially with the method of transportation, and I still think my original conclusion is pretty good, but that is definitely something to keep in mind. Back to the video. But do they have enough dog food to be worth it? I mean, it would have to be pretty good in order for "let's write a Petsco" to be one of the first thoughts during a zombie apocalypse. I personally would think that, but just to steal all the ferrets there. Most of the pet stores in Arizona were Petscos. I couldn't find online how much each carried in store, so I had to get my hands dirty, and I went to my local Petsco. I found the dog food aisle and started counting. I looked so dumb walking along this aisle and counting bags of dog food, but I'm willing to do it for science. After counting all of the bags, I turned to the corner and saw my worst nightmare. 4 more aisles of dog food. 1,286 bags later, I found this Petsco had 28,682 pounds of dog food. This is just the amount that they had up front. They almost certainly had more in the back, but I'm personally not willing to break into a Petsco for this video. Anyways, using my earlier calculations based on 2,000 calories per day, this much would theoretically last you 22,407 days, or 61.4 years. That's really not bad. Something within 3 miles of you could get you through years, and most people probably wouldn't even think of it when the zombies do come. Though, as I said earlier, dog food is supposed to be eaten within a year and a half. With that surplus, you could feed 40 people for that year and a half. The zombies probably would have run away or frozen before that year and a half was up anyways. And with the shocking amount of variety I saw, you could even vary the type of dog food you ate to get a bunch of different nutrients and tastes. Pretty good, really. But pet stores aren't the only places where there's dog food. 45.5% of American homes own a dog. I couldn't find how much a house usually had on hand online, so I broke into a local house to check. No, I didn't. At least that's what the law says. However, it's something that still might be worth checking if you are looting a house. Other people might have passed right over without even thinking about it. In conclusion, should you drop everything and sprint towards the nearest pet store as soon as you see a glimpse of green? I mean, no. The density of restaurants and grocery stores is way better, and they carry more food actually fit for humans and other more useful resources. So just do that instead. As I said earlier, it's really only good if other people passed it over. It's nice to know that you can use dog food, but I wouldn't explicitly go for it, which means I guess I kind of proved her right in the end. It didn't end up being that much of a help. I see her point now. This was Baldr, your online friend. Hey guys, this was just a quick and fun one that I wanted to work on over the holidays, so it's not as in-depth as some of the other ones. I still found it quite enjoyable though. If you want a more in-depth one though, check out my last video. I will say, counting up all of that dog food took forever, and I got some questionable looks from the people working there. Altogether, though, it's not that important. In the end, I just hope that when the zombies do come, that you'll be surviving with me, bros. Also, subscribe.